Hello and welcome to a new episode of Wrestling with Memories. I am your host, Fash, the $1 Million Fan, and as ever, I'm joined by my co-host, the ultimate jabroni, Wax, the Brain, Hussein. Wax, this is Royal Rumble Saturday. We are recording on the day. We're marking a 30-year anniversary, pretty much on the date, for Royal Rumble 1993, and it's going to be one of our special shows again. So I'm going to throw it over to you to explain to the audience what we're about to do again today.
Absolutely, Fash. It's a very exciting time. Probably the most exciting weekend of wrestling, I think, behind Wrestlemania.
Agreed.
We are literally a couple of hours away from the Royal Rumble kicking off. Feels strange for it to be on a Saturday, but that seems to be the new thing these days. I'm very happy with that decision.
I'm happy with that. So be in the UK.
In the UK.
The issue still is be Monday morning, getting back to work or school. So I'm loving these Saturday pay-per-views. Though I think every single time I do check in with you to actually
make sure
that it is a Saturday, since you're on top of the new stuff more than I am. But it's interesting. We said this last time. Our timeline has essentially merged exactly on the 30-year mark. But yeah, back to you. And I apologize. Do I apologize? Actually, I don't apologize for interrupting you because I'm the $1 Million Fan, but throwing it back to you now.
Thank you very much, Fash. As Fash has stated, this is our second watch along in a week, actually. We did the Monday Night Raw first ever episode. So similar instructions to that. Load up the WWE Network if that's where you're going to be watching the show from. Probably the easiest place. If you go down to the Jump 2 section, or sorry, first I should say, search for the Royal Rumble 1993. Make sure you're on the right year. If you jump down to the very bottom of the screen where it says Jump 2 and it lets you pick a certain slot, you can just go to the part that it says the Royal Rumble about to start. Otherwise, pick a time slot. It's 1 hour, 26 minutes and 22 seconds into the show. You will see a picture of Howard Finkel in the ring. We'll kick off just in a moment or two. I'll give you a second to load that up. Fash, as they're doing it, we'll go through the Rumble as we will, watch it along. But this is a perfect Rumble where we can actually talk about what's happened in the lead up to the show and also what's happened on the undercard, because there are a few slow spots, let's say, in this particular Rumble. But hopefully everybody's ready now. So Fash, let's give them a countdown.
Let's give them a countdown, Wax.
3, 2, 1, play. So if you're watching and got the volume down, you won't be able to hear the iconic voice of Howard Finkel, but I mean, this is the man who always used to open up the Rumble with the introductions. Whoa! It's Ric Flair.
Ric Flair is number one, Wax, in the Royal Rumble. The man who won what many argue is the best ever Royal Rumble a year before in 1992. He won the WWF Championship at that, and here he's drawn number one. So I guess in terms of drawing numbers, 3 last year, 1 in 1983. He's not really great at picking the large numbers, is he?
Bad luck to Flair.
It's going to change maybe a little bit down the line, but we're talking about this initial run. But yeah, it's not fair to Flair, as Bobby Heenan would say.
Absolutely not. Ric Flair, I think you've got to put him as one of the favorites as we enter this Rumble. No, he's the 2-time world champion, won the Rumble last year.
You would think so. Of course, we didn't know the backstory, and we'll talk about what's going to happen as we watch this match. But yeah, certainly watching this back, and I remember this event vividly, Wax. This is one of the ones, I was sitting there. You sent me the tape a few days later. Well, let's talk.
Oh my God, it's number 2.
It's number 2.
It's another legend of the business. It's Bob Backlund, who's basically returned to the WWF a couple of months prior to this with a few introductory interviews, but he's back in the ring.
Yeah, well, we covered this in our archive, so please check those out where we talk about debuts and departures in late 1992, and Bob Backlund was one of them. Now, if you're an old school fan here, Wax, you're seeing the old WWF champion, Bob Backlund, you're seeing the NWA champion, Ric Flair. This is actually a great twosome if you're a really old school fan, and we certainly weren't. We were more about, Hulk Hogan onwards, but this would have meant a lot to people when they would have seen this. A nice, I guess, wink to those really old school fans here. And I used to hate Bob Backlund.
I know you did. Well, you hated this iteration of Bob Backlund, which is, I suppose, the main one, but we'll talk about what happens later on in his career. But he's just returned after quite a long absence in the wrestling business. Who would you think is the older of the two gentlemen in the ring at the moment, Fash?
See, at this point, I would have thought it was Bob Backlund, and I've not done my research into ages right now, Wax. So tell me who's older.
Well, I mean, surprisingly, they're both 43 at this stage, right? So they seem old, don't they?
And this is the thing, right? Back then,
yeah,
if anybody hit 40 or old, they were kind of treated as these guys are, you
Yeah.
know, really old school veterans. Now with Ric Flair, they never really did it in this run, but with Bob Backlund, the whole vignettes to come back were
Yeah.
very much positioned as famous old timers coming back here. Whereas now we've discussed this many times. You look at the top players in the game, and they're way older,
Yeah.
and they're not positioned as being kind of over the hill.
But it's just
yeah,
crazy.
I mean,
This is like still the middle of Ric Flair's career, really, if you think about it. And you know, Bob Backlund towards the end of the career. And actually, Bob Backlund is about 6 months younger than Flair is. But it's just incredible how careers pan out, and just timing means everything, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Bob Backlund essentially, you know, he represented the era pre Hulkamania, and this the kind of character he's playing here as well. If you go, you know, years later, we went and saw some of his old stuff, and you know, the character here was very much in line with that early '80s iteration. Bob Backlund trying to eliminate Ric Flair, and there's a countdown: 3, 2, 1. Who's going to be number 3? I know, I remember. It's Papa Shango.
It's an iconic countdown as well, isn't it? That whole countdown.
Everybody loved it. And this was before they did the music
Yeah.
and what have you. But Papa Shango, what a fall from grace. You know, he actually joined, it came on TV just before WrestleMania 8, then had that big run in the main event of WrestleMania.
I think nothing sums up that fall from grace than what's about to happen very, very soon into this Rumble.
Exactly. This is going to prove that Papa Shango is a nobody now. I want to get it in before he gets his fate is delivered. But yeah, from there, you know, he has the feud with the Warrior, and then things just fell off a cliff. And Ric Flair is going to chuck Charles Wright, Papa Shango over the top rope, and he's going to float around for, you know, maybe the next 6-7 months, wax, maybe even less than that. When I start thinking about it, around about King of the Ring time is where I remember him being. Bob Backlund, close elimination, but he's back in. And yes, this is fall from grace after the Warrior feud.
It's just odd because you think he came in with such hype, and you know, they started off with the Warrior, then a little bit with Bret Hart. You think they might have carried that on and given it, but they never followed through. Obviously, with the Warrior got in the way with.
Well, Bret. I don't think the Warrior got. I think it was more the matches sucked, didn't they, with the Warrior, and then we went too far, and then they did try a feud with Bret. I don't think Bret sold it, and then Bret beat him Saturday night's main event. Bro, before that SummerSlam, he's not even on the main card. You know, he defeats Tito Santana. He's not part of Survivor Series, so he's kind of just Vince's lost interest. I think Charles Wright, when he talks about it as well, I think maybe he could have done more, but he's a young wrestler at the time. Yeah. It's one of those what ifs, because as you know, we've discussed once again the archives. We've covered his debut, his feud with the Warrior in depth. It was just a very fascinating character to me back then. It still is.
Now, I was just going to say, like, we always blame, or people always blame bad matches for why characters don't work. But if you think about it, this whole era of wrestling and prior to this was full of jobber squash matches, full of not very good wrestling matches.
Sorry, wax 6.
Oh, here we go. Entrant number 4.
3, 2, 1. Who's number 4? Do you remember?
It's the man that you take your name after, Fash.
The man that stole my name.
Well, I don't know about that, Fash. Are you claiming to be $1 million man? 50, 60 years old? Or, well, actually, I think he's also almost 70 years old, Ted DiBiase.
What's your thing with ages today?
It's just when this Rumble started off and the first 4 were in, I was thinking, this is a very old Rumble lineup. And I was thinking about to the previous year, and actually, it's probably a little bit younger on average than it was last year, although I haven't done.
Well, I'm going to talk about the big changes. This is, once again, you know, we've talked about all the changes in 92, 93. This Royal Rumble is disappointing in terms of overall entrance compared to 92 superstar studded. And we'll talk about the people that are not here anymore. I think the key thing probably is here that, once again, you've got a Mid-South wrestling stalwart in Ted DiBiase here. You've got that, you know, as I say, pre-Hulkamania, Bob Backlund.
You've got all 3
big entities
covered. Maybe if we didn't have a AWA champion now, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, at this point, we didn't have a clue, right? But actually, there's a good throwback, and you've got 2 heels working at Backlund. But just looking at the way, you know, Backlund's mannerisms here, he more than a baby face, he just comes across as creepy. The way he was kind of advancing towards Ric Flair and what have you.
Yeah,
it's just he's just from another era. Here,
I just want to
see the referee outside, wax.
Yeah,
the referee. Do you recognize him?
I can't quite see because of one.
You weren't really an ECW man, were you? But
no. Oh, that's
Bill Alfonso.
Yeah, Bill Alfonso, Taz's manager, Rob Van Dam's manager at various
Sabu,
different iterations.
But you've got a double team going on right now, wax. Sorry, I broke your thought. I was just thinking, we recently saw Ric Flair and Ted DiBiase at the Raw 30 anniversary as well, but there was no Bob Backlund to be seen in that show. And there's a countdown again, wax.
Yeah, absolutely. We're into entrant number 5. It's going to be one of my favorites, not one of yours.
I don't remember now. Is it one of the Nasty Boys?
Oh,
I
it
knew
is.
it'd
It
be one of the
absolutely
Nasty
is one of the
Boys.
Nasty
How
Boys.
did I know?
A
It's
tremendous Nasty Boy,
it's Knobs.
Brian Knobs.
So from one Knobs to another Knob, Wax. Can you
Yeah,
remind us why you like the Nasty Boys?
I think there's a good point to maybe just touch upon the card overall, Fash. I actually really enjoyed this event generally. I know the Rumble maybe was a little bit lackluster. We'll talk about that throughout this, but the opening match of this event was the Steiner brothers against the Beverly brothers. So our first pay-per-view introduction of the Steiners. And we talked a little bit about them on our last show, where they had their first sort of match on
Flair,
Raw.
false elimination.
Saved
False elimination.
himself.
Look at this. Knobs having a house on fire attack.
Absolutely killing it, isn't he? And it's the Steiners that win that match. I thought it was a really good performance from the Steiners. I thought it was a really good opening match. And I thought the Beverlys played the part as well. I thought it was a decent opener to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a hot opener. I mean, let's talk about, you see the undercard a little bit when we can, as this action's going on. But it was the battle of the brothers, even though obviously the Beverly brothers were the kayfabe brothers here.
Yeah.
And yeah, impressive debut. This was my first watch of the Steiner brothers because I hadn't seen their debut on TV beforehand, and I just remember being really impressed. And that crazy Frankensteiner on Blake that I'd seen for the first time, that maneuver. Maybe not the safest Frankensteiner Scott's ever done.
He landed him right on his head. It was
exactly,
it was incredible.
But it was a great debut, a great opener, get the crowd going. This event took place January 24th in the Arco Arena, Wax, in
Sacramento, California.
Yeah, exactly. And then, California's always a good crowd, I think, for wrestling. But then, you move on to what was more of a blood feud in match number 2. It's Shawn Michaels against Marty Jannetty. We've covered in the archives how Marty Jannetty returned at the end of October. The whole angle with Sherry in the mirror. Please go and check that out in our archives.
Here we go, Flash. Entrant number 6 is coming in, and somebody that we both hate in equal fashion. It is Virgil.
I don't hate Virgil. I just pity the fool. But here he is.
Well,
I mean, talk about like a DiBiase. I like this, but I used to love this about the Rumble. DiBiase attacks him first. It used to always be about, feuds would reignite. So this
we've not seen for a while on TV because obviously, the last couple of years they've really been at it against each other, but a little bit of a rekindling.
Yeah, so 91 was when the big babyface turn happened. 91 Royal Rumble. By 92, Virgil, he's
I think the only time anybody cared about Virgil was when he was fighting back against Ted DiBiase.
Well, that's it. That was it. And then, this 2 years ago was when that happened. You would have thought Virgil would maybe become somebody after that. He didn't. He has a kind of jobber now, but I like the fact that, him and DiBiase go at it here, kind of.
And this will actually, I think, be his final pay-per-view in the WWF, Virgil's. So
I don't think it is, Wax. I'm going to challenge you a little bit.
We can do a research, but I think
I think he's in the 94 Royal Rumble. And I'll tell you why.
I meant as this run.
And Knobs.
Knobs.
What did you mean? What did you mean, Wax?
I meant in his run, this would be his final pay-per-view. He would be brought back maybe later on, but I think he's done with the
you mean this?
Yeah.
This run? I don't know, man. I don't know.
We can confirm. Because
I know he's in the 94 Rumble. I'm going to put my neck on line, say he's there. And I don't know if there was a pause between them, trying to remember. But Virgil kind of has stuck around this period. I know we're saying, hey, just that his, our view of him kind of.
Well, he's transitioned to a jobber.
Exactly. So he's still around, I think, because you see him in 94 for sure. But yeah, so we've had our first elimination. Knobs is gone. Just going back to talking about the card, Wax. Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels, thought it was a good match at the time. Even as a kid, I expected more.
You think? Really?
I expected more.
I thought it was a really good match.
It's really good, but I tell you what, later on we'll discuss it when it happens. The match they have later on, is way better. I think. I thought it was a good match, but we'll talk about it. We've got the next countdown, the next entrance coming.
Yep, it's entrant number 7, and it's somebody worth talking about. Their first Rumble appearance. Very new to the company. It's Jerry the King Lawler, who we've not actually spoken about so far really in our shows, but he's recently just joined the WWF at the end of 1992.
It's December time, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he turns up on an episode of Primetime Wrestling as the replacement for Mr. Perfect. And very much.
We had no clue.
No.
Once again, look who he comes in. You were talking about, we don't have, this guy did have a big AWA match, I remember, with Ric Flair, but he is synonymous with Memphis wrestling even today. At the time, we had no clue. We had no clue he was. Saw some guy pretend to be a king, some jabroni.
I think it took a while for us to really get used to his character.
I think for everyone. Yeah. For everyone, really. I mean, we're not really going to care about Jerry Lawler until, his feud later in the year with Bret Hart. And even then, I remember he was like most found him annoying, but didn't realize that he was a legend in the Memphis area.
Yeah,
We also
absolutely.
find out when he joined at this point, a lot of wrestlers had animosity towards him.
Yeah,
There was
there's always those
shitting in
stories
his
about
crown. We'll get to
Memphis
that.
wrestling, not paying wrestlers very well when they went through the territory. I'm
Exactly.
sure we'll mention that.
But at this point, he was new. Why we've not discussed him, as you say, we've done Survivor
Yeah.
Series. He came after Survivor Series, and once again in this show, we're going to cover those people that came and went as we continue the discussion. But this was.
And man, Jerry the
a
King
big-
Lawler, he's still wrestling occasionally these days as well, well
shouldn't
into
be,
his
man with his
70s.
heart issues. I'm shocked that from time to time he's doing it. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the Raw 30th anniversary.
And yeah, he was there as well. Yeah,
Jerry Lawler. And
I mean, he's an iconic
Jim
figure, isn't
Ross
he, for
are
Raw, yeah.
for most the greatest combo. But what I'd like to say is, do you know? Well, let's go for this next countdown, Wax.
Oh, I don't think we need to bother about this next person, Fash, because they're not long for
So
the.
Have you cheated, Wax? Have you?
They're not long
checked?
for the.
Wax has been doing. We were going to watch this cold, but he's obviously been trying to one up me. Oh, it's your favorite wrestler? It's Max Moon.
It's Max Moon. Great outfit, but unfortunately not a great gimmick. That would last very much longer.
He's from outer space. He's from the future. Where's Max Mini today, Wax? In the last episode, I got Max Mini to attack you. And I see you've locked your door. Is that because you're trying to keep my henchman out of the building?
Yeah, the only person that's got a longer winning streak over me than you, Fash, is Max Mini himself.
Well, I'm glad you've admitted that.
He's not been pinned in 2 years.
You're the Macho Man to my Hulk Hogan. That you never get a win.
For now, Fash.
I'm still the champ.
Let's go back to that undercard match between Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
I actually really enjoyed it, and I do appreciate that maybe it wasn't the level of the match that was to come. Interestingly enough, I mean, there's lots to be said about that match. The story was, I think, perfectly done. Sherry was out.
I fell in love with Sherry watching.
Oh, absolutely. She looks stunning in her red dress, almost popping out at various times.
Yeah, Wax.
But
Max
Moon saves himself there. But just back to the match, Sherry obviously ringside. We don't know whose side she's on, but midway through the match, I think she makes it very clear that she's not happy with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels pulled her in when Marty Jannetty was about to hit him with the mirror a couple of months prior. She was in hospital. She had eye treatment, and Shawn Michaels didn't really give a damn. So she was really very much there to spite Shawn Michaels. The match itself, I mean, there were a couple of really good spots in the match that you don't see very often then, and you see very often these days, like a suicide dive from Marty Jannetty through the middle ropes. I mean, that was something very rare. I don't think I'd ever seen that before. He did a couple of other high-flying moves during the match. But the key thing is, right, what they say about the match afterwards is that Marty Jannetty was not in all his senses. Apparently, he was drunk when he turned up to the show. A lot of controversy around, what happened.
Well, I'm gonna retort on that, Wax. But let's do the countdown. We've got 5 seconds till our next participant comes in, and Max Moon is eliminated by Jerry the King Lawler. That tells you that Max Moon's push, if there even was one, is finished. And we've got Tenryu coming in next. And Wax, the issue with this Rumble was, you can see their star power is missing.
I mean,
man is
who or what is a Tenryu, Fash?
A Tenryu is something, when you have iron brew in a tin. In Scotland, we call it Tenryu. But basically, that's not one of my best jokes, Wax, but you threw it on me, so I think it was a pretty good recovery.
I mean, he's an All Japan Pro Wrestling wrestler. Even Meltzer calls him the 4th to the 6th most famous Japanese wrestler at the time, which is not saying very much.
Meltzer's probably giving him 5 stars, right?
Well,
how many times did he main event in the Tokyo Dome?
But nobody cared about Tenryu because nobody knew who the hell he was.
We didn't know, right? Basically, the issue was, like, it was just saying star power was missing. So you're going to see people like Tenryu. You're going to see another gentleman later on. They're just lacking here. And, the quality is missing in a lot of these slots. Going back to the Shawn Michaels Marty Jannetty match, I thought it was decent. I say the ending, Sherry's about to hit, basically Marty Jannetty is holding Shawn Michaels. Sherry's got her heeled shoe. She's about to hit Shawn. Shawn ducks, hits Marty. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of this. And then Shawn, I think on pay-per-view, wins his first match with a super kick. Max, up to this point, his main event move or finishing move was the teardrop suplex. So he does that, not his best super kick, but the selling of the super kick from Marty Jannetty is hilarious. He does a 360 somersault in the air. And
before the days that it was even a thing or that you would sell something that
I think both of them were overselling it at many points, and that was one of the points I wanted to make.
Well, Shawn Michaels actually, a bump machine at the early part of this match. It just goes to show how good he was. It's like, as a
He
as a
was,
heel
but
that
then
was
I
able to
thought
take those
some of it
bumps.
was a bit over the top, right? And then,
Yeah, it was, but I think
Sean
that's
wins.
what made him. Yeah.
And let's see, next competitor coming in. I hope it's an upgrade on Tin Root.
Oh, I think it's about to be. If Jim Ross was here, he would have his famous line.
Oh, here we go. Business has
Business is
picked up,
about
Wax.
to pick
Mr.
up.
Perfect. Now, this point, I was like, okay, now we've got something going on here. Because then he points out Ric Flair, and this is the one, within the match. If you're talking about feuds,
Yeah.
this is a proper feud, and both of them are going to go at it. Chops on Perfect.
And the crowd's on fire as well. The crowd knows this is the one thing that means something in this rumble.
And this is, as we talk about this, I think the structuring of this match was wrong. But these two are people cared about, and they want to see an outcome. The key thing, Wax, when we talk about Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect, is we covered the first Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
2 Raws from them. From that one, Ric Flair has challenged Mr. Perfect to a loser leaves WWF match. He basically says that, WWF's not big enough for both of them. And that, in terms of televised match, is going to take place tomorrow after this Royal Rumble match. It's the Monday Night Raw, with the loser leaving. Now, in reality, even though Monday Night Raw was supposed to be live every week, already it was taped in advance. Now, we won't tell you what happened. If you're a wrestling fan from that time, you know what happened, but we will cover that in a future episode. But already you've got this, really feud that's gone to the extreme. Ric Flair's made the challenge, which at the time I think we were both, even you as kids, surprised at this. Not sure what was going to happen, but a loser leaves WWF match.
I don't think we'll cover that Raw in detail, but it was tremendous.
I think we should. Well,
that part was tremendous.
I think we should cover Ric Flair's run. And,
definitely. I meant more the second.
This is what happens with us, guys. See, we don't discuss beforehand. We kind of have this. This is kind of
that's what makes it good.
On time. Wax disagrees to something, and then I
disagree to a lot of things, but I do end up going down the road with
exactly because it's all about the money.
Pays me. On the side.
Exactly. That's it.
But I think the one thing I was going to say about that,
to eliminate
the one thing I was going to say about that Raw is that the heat and the intensity that both guys showed when they were brawling was tremendous, and that really built up to this point in the Rumble where both are in and trying to eliminate each other.
But the interesting thing, as we go to the next competitor coming into the Rumble, it's Skinner. So forget him.
I mean, where's Skinner been the last few months? Because he's kind of been very much off TV for quite a while.
He's probably been
relevant.
Riding some alligator somewhere, Wax, literally. But what I'm saying is, another guy that came in with this ridiculous gimmick and really hasn't done anything. And of course, he was one of the Fantastics, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Back in the day, so Vince didn't really show him any respect when he came in. But going back to this, oh my goodness!
Oh, here we go.
When
I face palmed out the ring.
Ric Flair has been eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Now, he came in at number 1. He's last year's winner, and quite an easy elimination. It's really been him and Perfect going at it, and Perfect, as I say, facepalm out of the match. Crowd is going crazy.
Flair is furious.
And Flair's gone. And now, this was a great moment watching this and I still remember this as a kid watching this going, oh, Ric Flair's out. But at the same time, I think the match is going to suffer because of this. It's one of the 2 stars of this era. In terms of WWF lost so many people, you eliminate them so early. I feel that shouldn't have been the case. We'll get to it as this match develops.
But I think from a logic point of view, it's just difficult to have both men in the Rumble for too long a time.
Well, look, Max Mini's made
Max
it.
Mini's back.
He's
not getting a pin over me today. Don't worry about it.
I don't know. I mean, the instruction was to attack you. I don't know if Max Mini's now colluding with you. This might be a $1 million man Virgil situation down the line as well.
Just quickly, fast. Let's return to that match on the undercard. You were going to rebut the accusation that Marty Jannetty turned up to this show.
So I was going to just say, the ending is with the super kick. Sherry goes to the back. Sean sees her on the screen, chases after. She's hysterical, as Mean Gene says. Sean kind of shouts at her. I think Sherry throws a line like, I thought you loved me, or something like that. And Marty Jannetty comes in and start brawling. Let's go to the next competitor, then I'll give you my view on that situation and what happens next.
So another legend of the game that Fash is not very impressed with. It's Coco Beware. Look at that charisma the guy's showing.
Your pants.
Brilliant.
Coming out. This is just awful, some of these competitors. But I'm just going to say, going back to that match, right? So the match ends, Shawn Michaels wins. You think it's going to continue? And the plan was to have that match at WrestleMania 9 then. To your point, Marty is supposedly drunk. He actually gets fired the next day, Wax. And the accusation is that he's basically off on drugs. He's found in the locker room. Supposedly Sean was the one that accused him of this, and Vince fired him. But it was later found out that actually Marty was just sleeping.
Well, he
wasn't
says
on.
he was
No,
sleeping.
no, no. They say
Who
Vince.
said?
No, no. Well, based on what I've seen, Vince brought him back then in May. So I've
Hmm.
heard from the thing that was Sean's first kind of political
Yeah.
move. He's annoyed with Marty.
But-
Now that's debatable, but he does come back, and I don't
Yep.
think at this point, maybe he was. I mean, everyone was Marty
Yeah.
had issues, right? But ultimately he's going to be sacked the next day, and this
Yep.
feud is not going to continue. Which
Well, just on that, I mean,
Eddie and him in limbo.
just on that, I mean, Brett
I
even
think
recalls.
Skinner's about to go. Drop kick.
Oh,
Skinner's gone.
lovely drop kick from Mr. Perfect and
Mr.
well sold
Perfect.
from Skinner.
Ric Flair's gone. Skinner's gone. Perfect's on a bit of a roll.
It's
here.
interesting because Brett also comments on Marty Jannetty in that match. He goes, Marty Jannetty showed up drunk and unkempt from an all-nighter, wasted. Marty fumbled and stumbled his way through the match, but much to his credit, and actually this is one thing I was going to say, it's very difficult to notice or note that he is drunk.
If that's the
At
case,
all.
yeah, I
If
mean,
that's the case, I thought it was a terrific performance.
you
But
can
apparently
tell.
Vince fires him pretty much as
Yeah,
soon
but
as he
see, that's
gets
the
out of the
thing.
ring.
That's what I'm saying is mixed stories. So Brett's saying, and Brett's book's great, right? But there's bits in there where you're like, you question it. I say what I've heard is that he's sacked the next day because he's found
Yeah.
knocked out in the locker room. But then there's people refuting, saying actually he wasn't, and Sean kind of played a bit of politics there. The bottom line is, unfortunately, Marty's gone after what's supposed to be a really promising feud, and went back to Flair. It's Samu of the Head Shrinkers with Afa. And it's a shame we didn't get to see both of these in the Raw 30 episode.
Yeah.
Max. There was rumors of it.
They had a plan, obviously, to bring in the full generations of the family, but for whatever reason, they changed the plan. They did do a segment with the Bloodline, which was tremendous in its own right. But maybe they should have brought them in as well.
So there's a couple of rumors for that, isn't it? There's one
Hmm.
rumor which just says that they get, Sika and a few others couldn't make it. Samu couldn't make it, which
I mean,
seems
what
like a bit
else
of
were
an
they
odd
doing,
one.
man?
So the other that I think is more likely is that this was going to lead to, the whole Rock, if the Rock was going to come back.
Maybe
Because
they're
with
holding off.
everyone acknowledging Roman Reigns, it just
Yeah.
felt like it was going to be linked to a Rock storyline if Rock was indeed going to come back.
Yeah.
Rumors now are that he won't. We'll see what happens tonight at the Royal Rumble if there's any surprises, but you're not expecting the Rock to come out at the Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
right? But can you imagine if he did show up with Roman Reigns? It would be amazing.
Blown the roof.
Well, it might still blow the roof, Max,
Yeah.
because we're some hours away. But yeah, that's the ideal kind of mark fan situation.
Before we finish off today, we'll definitely get our predictions in for Royal Rumble 2023.
We surely will.
Just an interesting fact about Samu. I mean, he's the only one of this generation of the family that is not a Hall of Famer, which I thought was a bit sad and unfair.
One of the things I love to do is look back when certain people get fired and what the history was. And actually, Samu's, we forget, I think early on as well in the, rock and wrestling era, he came in first there.
Yeah.
Samula. And he comes here as one of the head shrinkers, but he's going to be gone in 94. And it's one of those firings which never really got to the bottom of why it really happened. But I think that was it. Then, they tried to do this short-lived storyline with Fatu when he's making a difference. And Samu and future Rosie are basically there kind of in the aisle, but that doesn't go anywhere. Maybe down the line we'll cover that. And then that's it for him really in the WWF. So it didn't go to the next level. It was with Fatu. They kept repackaging him. I guess he was a good citizen and eventually becomes a Hall of Famer. But it's a shame.
Well, if Roman Reigns is the top of the table, then we know who the bottom of the table is. And
Berserker.
Berserker still playing this crazy character. Hush, hush, hush. Just
I think it's Huss Wax.
Okay, well, similar.
Hush. I wish you would hush, but you never do.
Well.
Right? But yeah, I mean, Berserker, there was stories that he'd basically gone missing alongside Hawk.
Yeah.
Legion of Doom, so I'm surprised Berserker's back. And then there was a second story.
There's a Berserker.
There's a Berserker basically coming out. Yeah, that's
it. We're gonna have to do the show. Continue with the show with these distractions. It's not a problem. Let's keep going.
I think it's fine. You keep going. Like I say, Max Mini. He is a man. When he takes a contract, he does deliver on it. So I thought maybe he's going to turn on me, but he's not. He's basically doing his job. But Berserker, the first story was that he went AWOL with Road. Jerry Lawler. This is what I don't like.
Oh no,
Mr. Perfect was about to go, or is he still going to go? DiBiase's trying his best.
DiBiase's trying his best. Oh, what the hell's Coco doing? Coco, you're on the wrong side.
Beware, right?
Coco, you're on the wrong side.
But this is what I don't like. Right, look what's going to happen here. I remember this.
They're all teaming up. I don't understand what the hell Coco's doing. Coco's lost the plot.
It's every man for himself, Wax. But look at this footage. Jay Law's trying. You have DiBiase kicking Mr. Perfect on the apron. You've got Coco Beware trying to kick him out. As you say, it's not what a babyface should be doing. He should be helping. And Perfect's gone as well. And this is where this Royal Rumble is really started to jump the shark in many respects, Wax. because I feel that Perfect and Flair should have been in this match way longer. If I was to set up my final 4-5, both of them would have been in there.
But what I was saying earlier to you, logically, it doesn't make sense. You've got two guys in a blood feud. Why are they not? Why are they not ending
indulge
that?
me? Because the thing is, what you could have done is you could have had them fighting all over the arena or something. Do something different. They could have been in the ring for a bit.
It's just a bit early for that, isn't it?
No, but how many blood feuds have they? Why have them in so early?
Yeah,
that's my point. The thing is, you're going to see near the end, we're going to really, struggle with top names.
Yeah.
Bring them later. Bring them in after.
That whole concept of the final 4, final 2 wasn't really a thing back then, was it? It was just
I guess it was
random.
But this man's coming out of the Undertaker. I love Jay Law's reaction here. He kind of just moves that way with fear. But my point is, I would have had those two come in after the whole Undertaker.
No, it makes sense. I mean, they're your top guys as a two of your top
Perfect
guys,
in the background. He's moving. So now you've lost Flair, you've lost Perfect, Jay Lawler.
So who's a potential winner coming into the ring? I mean, there's only one.
I mean, Undertaker. Right? You've watched it. As a kid, I was like, Undertaker. Who's going to eliminate?
He's got to. Surely he's got to from here.
And Samu's attacking the Undertaker straight away, which is just a stupid strategy. Explains why he wasn't refined at this stage. You don't go after the dead man. And Berserker, is that elimination, Max?
No, he went through the middle rope because as his ball back, for some reason now he's going to hit him.
Well, he tried to hit him. Oh, he does it right in the sternum.
And Berserker is going berserk.
The back. But I'll try to make a few points in the Berserker, but then there's always the next entrant that comes in. So Berserker or Samu.
That's a harsh elimination there.
Slam over top rope. I said he's at the bottom of the table and actually he's gone through the table with that one. So we won't see
we've got
Samu.
The mats are up. Berserker's got Backlund on the outside and slams him.
Very, very lame slam though. Tenryu with the insecurity on the Undertaker.
I think he's going to regret that.
And I can see elimination.
He goes Tenryu. Over the top rope, the backdrop from Undertaker.
Okay, now you've got Undertaker, DiBiase, Koko B. Ware, and Berserker, and I can see the fate of these three men without even recalling what the next few phases of this are going to be. But DiBiase getting choked. I like this as well, Wax. This is the thing, we talk about this. Ted DiBiase was the one that brought Undertaker in 1996 Survivor Series, right? So I like to see Undertaker attacking him. Berserker.
And I guess the reason they did that thing with Bob Backlund on the outside was just to give him a break because he'd been in the ring since the start of the match. So
good point. So you have to get him out of there, and we've got a countdown.
Yeah, I think very quickly because the next entrant is not a very interesting entrant at all. It is Terry Taylor.
Do the rooster thing, Max.
No, I'm not going to do the rooster thing. The man doesn't deserve it.
I want people to comment if you want. I'm going to do a poll on Instagram to see if you'd like Wax to
very quickly because it only deserves a minute of our time. Another undercard match was the Big Boss Man against Bam Bam Bigelow.
Well, sorry, I was going to finish. Sorry, my final point just on Marty Jannetty.
Okay,
I could say, Sherry is kind of limbo because of that as well. Marty's gone. We don't see a continuation of it. And what's going to happen with Shawn now? We see a quick double elimination. From Ted DiBiase. What was the point of Terry Taylor? He just came in. That's
no point. Just embarrass him.
DiBiase is going to be eliminated. Choke slam from The Undertaker. And he's still doing this old school type choke slam.
Down to the knee.
Down to the knee, but clothesline, DiBiase's gone. Undertaker's
I'm just on fire.
Berserker now, a callback to their feud in 1992. We covered this in the archives, Wax. It didn't get a pay-per-view match, but at one point Berserker tried to stab the
two
Undertaker.
Big men.
Yeah, they tried to transition this into a bigger feud. It didn't happen, and then Undertaker actually eventually feuds with.
Oh, what the hell?
What the hell am I seeing here, Wax?
Oh my God, it's a giant walking down the aisle.
This man looks like he's 16 foot tall or whatever is going to be said of him. This guy,
especially when he's standing next to Harvey Whippleman, who's bringing him down to the ring.
Once again, you have these vivid memories, right? I remember this point when I watched this event the first time, thinking, "Who the hell is this guy?" Elimination Undertaker eliminates Berserker, but now he's got this.
Oh my God, this guy looks
and the crowd is in awe.
Wow,
we've got a big face off here.
I mean, we're going to talk about
this guy
in a lot more detail soon, but
this is WrestleCrap.
First thoughts was just like when I watched this as a kid, I'm thinking, "Wow, I've never seen anything this big."
And what made it brilliant was because he was with Harvey Whippleman.
Yeah,
so it really gives
and
you
even Undertaker, who we know is a tall guy.
Look at this. So there's a face-to-face here, right? This guy is not an entrant in the Royal Rumble.
There is an entrant coming down, but I don't think they're going to make their way to the ring anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's Damien Demento, isn't it? My memory's taking me back here, and it's triggering. It's IRS or Damien Demento from memory.
Yeah, they're stepping into the center of the ring.
They're not even showing who.
I don't even know who this guy is. Who is he, Fash? We don't have a name.
Well, we're going to eventually know who he is, isn't it? Should we reveal his name? Should we
I
remember?
think we've got to Fash. We've got to let the fans in on the secret.
He is Giant Gonzalez Wax.
His debut in the WWF. He's just come over from WCW in a completely different format. Oh,
look at this big chops,
big hands,
big chops, and look
two
at
chop.
that.
Wow!
And this was my problem with the Royal Rumble's rules being inconsistent. Right, sometimes an outsider could come and eliminate you. Other years it wasn't a legal elimination. They kind of changed it as they wanted, as it suits. But
wow, these chops are vicious.
This is elimination, big chops. Now the one thing we can make from a storyline connection here, Wax, is that Kamala was put in the coffin.
Yep.
Harvey Whippleman said that he would have revenge on the Undertaker.
Yep.
He promised, I think, a big bomb would be dropped, and this was obviously his big surprise. This huge man, Giant Gonzalez, debuting. They don't know his name yet on commentary. It'll be revealed, and he's absolutely doing a number on the Undertaker.
Whips
and the
Undertaker into the steel steps.
Is silent. The crowd's scared. They're silent. What made it ridiculous was this stupid Giant Gonzalez suit that they've got him in. It just made a mockery. Even as a kid, I was thinking, what is up with this guy's
No, outfit? I love the suit, Fash. I'm not gonna lie, I love the suit.
Come on,
the outfit.
I mean,
I love
Warrior had kind of half of this going with the singlet, but this is just terrible.
No,
the character was no, but it's just that's what took you away a little bit from it. But look, he's back in the ring now. He's going to choke slam the Undertaker. Let's see how good the choke slam from Giant Gonzalez is. He's taking a while. He's going to do
everybody like
evil Bollywood villain laugh here, Wax. And here we go. It's a good choke slam.
Oh, it's a good choke slam. Everybody shits on his ability in the ring, but actually he's not
rightly
too.
So.
He's not too bad. What he's done here has not been too bad. He's done his
Damien
job.
Demento was the entrant. He's outside.
Yeah, who's staying well clear.
A character
sure
that's
that
going to go
in the ring.
nowhere. And we're going to see the next person coming in now as well. But yeah, Undertaker's in the ring. Giant Gonzalez seems to be leaving the ring.
Gorilla and Bobby Heenan
and
are
it is
really
IRS.
selling.
So there you go. I had some memory.
Yeah.
There, Wax. I thought I remembered IRS and
IRS is taking a very slow walk to the ring, making sure he stays well clear.
So Giant Gonzalez is still doing a number. Actually, he's taking his leg banged off the pole.
I think he's got good facial reactions. Giant Gonzalez, look at that.
Well, here, no, it was a great entry. The issue is going to be obviously the matches later on, Wax. But let's talk a little bit about this. George Gonzalez, he was El Gigante in WCW. He was like this kind of pet project. He was supposed to be a basketball player, I think, playing
a very bad basketball player,
Atlanta, and that's how he was signed by, I guess, Ted Turner, TBS, all those.
I mean, it's the first time Undertaker has been treated like this.
Basketball wasn't his forte. Exactly, and then they turned him into a wrestler, El Gigante, big push as a babyface. It didn't work. He wasn't great in the ring. But Vince sees somebody that's tall. He sees the potential he's going to sign, doesn't he? And this was the next iteration of George Gonzalez, Giant Gonzalez. And yes, as you see, the Undertaker had not been beaten up like this by anyone up to this point. So this is a great debut in terms of a new character being introduced.
Yep.
What I also like to say is, up to this point, we thought the big feud was going to be Nails versus The Undertaker. And I suspect that would have taken us to WrestleMania 9. The question is what would have happened to Giant Gonzalez in that. But of course, Nails has been fired from the WWF Wax for trying to attack Vince McMahon.
Yep.
We'll get into more details on that at some point. There's also some rumors that, Damien Demento, that slot would have been Nails. Yeah, but obviously with the people that are going to leave before this event, Nails is gone. He still features on the poster for this event, as do other people that are not here anymore, like the Warrior, the British Bulldog. Crush was supposed to be in this Royal Rumble, but for storyline reasons, he's not. He was attacked by Doink the Clown before this event, so he's not here. So you had, these other kind of replacements here, but I mean, I was looking forward to that Nails Undertaker feud.
Yeah.
It wasn't to be.
Hopefully we get a chance to discuss.
It would have been equally terrible in the ring, but at this point, I'd love the story and angles, but that's dropped.
Absolutely.
And
we've got Undertaker. Well, the next person in is Tatanka, and the crowd's going crazy for
Tatanka
the
was
Native American. Undertaker's still lying in the corner, completely out of it. After that
at this point, there was kind of confusion, wasn't it, if he's out from the Royal Rumble or not? But ultimately, he is eliminated.
And here comes Paul Bearer out to the ring with the urn, and I don't know, is it gonna wake up the Undertaker?
It does. He's revived to a degree. He's getting up,
but he's selling it well. He's
Undertaker
just taking.
And this is why Mark Calloway, the way he played this character, people were like, we talked about Papa Shango earlier. Like, it's one thing you could say is Papa Shango didn't get the same push. Maybe as the Undertaker, of course he didn't, but at the same time, Undertaker lived this character pun intended, given he's supposed to be the dead man.
Yeah.
Papa Shango didn't, and I think Charles Wright has made that comment as well. That
it's very difficult to live that character. And
well, look, Mark Calloway did it for years. The Undertaker, he did it, and look at that's the way he's selling
the leg injuries.
Just brilliant, the way he is. But
I mean, I'll happily admit, Fash, as a kid, I was in awe of that moment. Like Jangas, down,
like I say, I'm
terrified
remembering these bits
of
from this Royal Rumble. But look, now we've lost Ric Flair.
So who's the potential winner of these four guys in the ring?
From these, I mean,
could you see Tatanka win the Royal Rumble?
It's a good question. At this point, he was getting a reasonable push, but no. Even at this point, I didn't think he'd win the Royal Rumble.
As much as I like him, even I couldn't.
And I couldn't see any of these guys winning the Royal Rumble at this point. But as I say, we've lost some stars as well. Wax. Going into it, as I say, Nails, we'll talk about him another day. He was certainly getting a big push in WWF. Warrior, Bulldog, we know about. We've covered all these. Well, Nails firing we haven't covered. We will in more detail, but that was before Royal Rumble, but after Survivor Series. And of course, there was that face-off with The Undertaker. Let's see who the next entrant is. But look at this. This is where the star power is really dropping, Wax. We've seen eliminations of some.
It's going to increase, I think. Star power's about to
I hope
improve.
It's the Macho Man. What?
Yes. It's Jerry Sags about to lift the tempo in the match. Let's go back fast.
Let's go back to the event because let's go back to the undercard because this is a terrible entrant.
But two big men who were missing from the Royal Rumble, Big Boss Man and Bam Bam Bigelow, as you say. Bam Bam fairly new back into the company, and Boss Man really towards the end of this run.
Well, this was one of those passing the baton moments we didn't know at the time, but you're right. One who's been around for ages and a newcomer, and on paper, an interesting match. In execution, maybe not as much.
No, I would think they spent way too long in the match. 10 minutes the match was overall. I mean, not much to say about the match itself, otherwise it was pretty slow and plodding. Two big guys who are probably past their prime. I
don't agree with that. I think Bam Bam Bigelow he's going to prove over the coming years that he's very good. So I disagree with you on that, Max.
Well, I think he's very good depending on. Well, no, okay, I'll take it back.
I think you should. Boss Man.
He main evented. I mean, so
no, he's going to have some bangers, and I know Taz doesn't like the term bangers. I read that on Twitter today, but he's going to have some great matches coming. But he needs the right opponent. And this was two kind of big guys going at it. One guy knows he's jobbing and his time is coming to an end of WWF.
I initially thought this was an odd result with Bam Bam Bigelow going over.
I think as a kid, thought the same. I didn't really know Bam Bam. I hadn't seen his matches.
Especially off the back of Boss Man beating Nails in a big feud.
Well, this is what we discussed at the Survivor Series show, right? We know what's going to happen. Why did Boss Man win? I think they were going to have another match where Nails win because Boss Man's push as at an end. He's only going to be around for a little bit more. He's going to put people over and he's going to leave. So this was the first kind of big job on pay-per-view, but I remember being surprised as well. Bam Bam, basically, it's not cheating or anything. He defeats him with a top rope headbutt, his finisher, and that's the end. So I remember being shocked at that time. But
which was always a pretty impressive finisher. I really liked that top rope headbutt.
Yeah, and that's it. Boss Man, as you say, is jobs out here. Surprising given he beat Nails, but they don't have anything for him. Probably would have been better suited in this Royal Rumble given the lack of star power. But I can see why Bam Bam wasn't in it because you don't want him to lose any steam by getting eliminated. And the next entrant is talking about a big guy.
It's a big entrant, all right.
But once again, we've talked about the natural disasters, Wax. They've lost.
Typhoon at this stage.
Or did I call him Tugboat?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I apologize.
Living in
Typhoon.
the 80s, but it's all right.
Well, was it 80s, Wax? I think early 1980s.
Well,
Tugboat came
close enough.
That's what happens when you try to correct the Fashion Man. But here we go. Tugboat's in there, but this just explains. Tugboat again, haven't I? Typhoon's in there. This explains, how lame this Rumble is turning out to be. But so Bam Bam with a relatively easy win over the Big Boss Man. And as I say, Boss Man's not going to last long. I guess we'll talk about that in a future episode.
And after that, Flash, we've got the actual World Championship match between Bret Hart and Razor Ramon. They built this up over the previous few weeks. We talked a lot about it over the Monday Night Raw episode that we did last week. So do check that out. This is Razor Ramon's first big pay-per-view match, I would say. Like I know he had the Survivor Series match, but this is first singles. This is his first singles match, where the attention is solely on him. And one odd thing about Razor Ramon's career, and I'll come back to this another time, but it's his only championship match on pay-per-view.
It's incredible, isn't it? I was thinking the same thing.
It's mad. But maybe we can discuss that in the
future. Here's another fact as well about Wax. He's never been in the Royal Rumble match.
Yeah, wow.
because he's just going to be in
He's
the
always been,
Intercontinental title
yeah,
picture,
yeah,
and he's going to leave. I suspect that we would have seen him in the main event of
yeah.
a pay-per-view for the title again if he would have stuck around in '96. I could have seen him turning
Well,
heel.
see, that's where I disagree, but we'll leave that
Well,
for
my
another day.
case would be this: if he wasn't with the issues and things,
Yeah.
I think in '96, if they don't go, then there was a natural feud with him being a heel against
Mhm.
Shawn Michaels being the champion.
Yeah.
I'd put money on that being a main event for the title. But
Yeah.
yeah, he never really got there again, which is a shame. But he was the man who was synonymous with the Intercontinental
Yep. We're
Championship. But
going to
we'll
see a
get your
new
thoughts on the match
entrant
as we see next
into the
cover.
Rumble. It's the second member of the Head Shrinkers.
And the more decorated member is
Yeah.
going to be in several Royal Rumbles in the future in different
Fatu,
garbs.
Rikishi Fatu, an
Well,
actual
he's
Hall of
Fatu
Famer.
only here, isn't he? He's
I
only
know, he's
Fatu
Fatu
here.
only here.
Look at this, and
Oh,
Alpha's
my
beating
word.
him up, man.
That's
Alpha,
one
get
way.
Alpha.
I mean, that is.
That's one way to get you ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look at that, I go straight after Typhoon.
And he looks really good, like quite trim. Fatu versus
If you
what
call
he.
that trim,
I mean, relative.
it's
It's all
trim
relative,
compared
isn't
to
it?
you.
He's trim relative to his later on
Yeah, he's going
persona
to
of
become.
Rikishi Fatu. And even since then, he's put on
But
the
this is a guy
pounds.
that they did try with. I mean, first the head
Yeah.
shrinkers, then there's going to be Make a Difference Fatu, he's going to be the Sultan, and then
Yep.
finally it works with Wax. Initially Rikishi Fatu, but then as Rikishi, he's going to become a mega star in the Attitude Era. But he's somebody who's in and out of the WWF for a number of years. We see IRS trying to eliminate Damien Demento. Wow, just so many jabronis in
Yeah.
this
Well,
current.
let's
lineup.
just go back to the World Championship
Yep.
match. It was a pretty good match, Fast. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, Bret
Yes.
always puts on a good match. Scott Hall's a good worker. We know that. I really love Razor Ramon's outfit for this match. He's wearing that sort of bright red trunks with the razors on it and the red sort of jacket. Lots of gold, lots of bling, like the $1 million fan loves himself.
You just froze on me, Wax. You froze on me there, Wax.
Oh no.
You're
Am
back,
I
you're back,
Am I
you're back.
Yeah, technical issues. We're going over an hour on this one.
It's that
I don't
Max
think
Mini
the
again. It's that Max
technology
Mini.
can handle us,
Now
but
he's basically doing something in the background.
yeah, I thought it was a good match. I'm not going to say great match. It was a good match. There were no standout moments really, but
I like the
they
ending.
both
The
worked
ending was
well.
good.
The ending was really good. Brett says about Razor Ramon, he was still so green. I called everything.
Brett, this is where I love Brett,
humble.
but honestly,
I mean, we
he
both
is
in the
just
same boat, and me.
yeah, it's just come on,
Yeah, absolutely.
But 3 seconds to the next entrant, please make it somebody decent. Well,
it's the
Earthquake, I would say way more over than Typhoon.
Yeah,
and he's coming out here, so get a bit of a pop. And yeah, that's
this
Natural
is
Disasters in Limbo, but
I
we're going to
find
see
it really
something
odd watching this. It's quite interesting what happens. He immediately goes for his partner
after Typhoon, exactly.
Typhoon.
And this would have, I think, led to something.
Yeah.
Between the two, but they're not going to actually hang. I think Typhoon's not going to last long, and neither is Earthquake.
I mean, these guys are massive.
They're massive, but it's just funny that you guys say they go after each other straight away. Not much of a strategy from Earthquake there, but he's obviously annoyed. Maybe Typhoon ate the last burger, but I said you think what's going to happen is we'll preempt it.
Yep.
Earthquake's going to eliminate Typhoon, and you think maybe there's a feud between these two guys now because as a team, they lost steam, but they're both going to be out of the WWF very quickly. I think the most high profile thing Earthquake's going to do is lose to Bam Bam Bigelow. I think by count it on a Superstars in the coming weeks.
Was a lot of meat coming together there.
And Typhoon's not going to do much, though Typhoon is going to be infamous. And there's the elimination of Typhoon. He's going to be infamous.
One thing I'll
in
say
the fall.
for big guys, they did that bump a lot. And they did it pretty well. Like risky, that jumping
I look
over.
Earthquake kind of like lifting his hands up saying, look, it's the Royal Rumble, what do you want? But it was odd, but there's no payoff to this back. Both are going to be out. Typhoon's going to make an arse of it in the fall in WCW. He's going to have that great Shockmaster debut. And as far as Earthquake goes, he goes away for a little bit, then comes back in 94. So yeah, they're not going to be up too much after this. Just once again, 92 is odd. 93 is going to be odd with people, be leaving the show. But yeah, I see the Razor Ramon Bret Hart match. I think good match. Agree. What I recall about it, the fun stuff is, Bret giving his glasses at the beginning to a kid. Razor Ramon throwing his toothpick. The same kid.
Very
and
English.
Then the ending of the match where, Bret uses his ingenuity to put Razor in the sharpshooter. Razor
they're both
quits,
on the floor.
And the crowd goes crazy. I think crowd did give him a really good pop, didn't he? But yeah, Bret taking all the credit as always is not surprising. And here comes the youngster, according to Gorilla
Gorilla
Monsoon.
Monsoon, yeah, absolutely.
Carlos Colon.
Carlos Colon, and this horrible red outfit that I never really understood people wrestlers wearing these because they looked horrendous.
Well, Damien
but anyway, a
Demento's gone. Oh,
Puerto
no, he's not gone.
Rican
He's not.
legend,
And the
Carlos
father
Colon,
of
the father of
Carlito.
yeah, absolutely.
And Primo and what's the other guy called?
Oh, who cares, Fash?
Exactly. But so he's a veteran of the ages here, but
yeah,
Gorilla Monsoon calls him a youngster. And this once again is because we don't have enough stars in the roster. I guess, this could have been a crush. In an ideal world, this could have been a Bulldog.
Yep.
Hell, it could have even been the Ultimate Warrior Wax. But it just shows the state of the company right now that Carlos Colon's out there. Let me just maybe, like I say, we talked about the Bret Hart, great title defense. Second successful pay-per-view title defense. Beat Shawn, beat Razor. These three are going to be a big part of the new generation era we're going to see over the next few years. But solidifying Bret as the man. Carlos Colon gets an elimination to defeat Damien Demento there in terms of throwing him over the top rope. So Demento's gone, and he's going to eventually be gone from the company as well in a few months. Earthquake going after Bob Backlund. But yeah, I mean, like I touched upon it in our last episode. I really think the main event here should have been a Randy Savage Bret Hart match, or you could have saved that for WrestleMania. I think the fact that match didn't happen on pay-per-view was a big shame. Razor's push, we've talked about it up to this point in this little few years. You talk about like the Undertaker push was immense. Razor's had a great push since debuting after SummerSlam. It's going to cool down after this main event, but he's certainly been put in a prominent position. He didn't let himself down at all. And that, of course, Bret talks about it originally being Warrior, and he's going to make Warrior tap out to
we talked about that. On
that
the
was never
last
going to
episode as
happen. Wax, no way Warrior's going to job to Bret. And here comes your favorite.
Oh, an absolute legend, Tito Santana, El Matador,
and this will be his last.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, the only man to have been in all 6 of the first Rumbles, which was tremendous.
Not been successful.
Well, he was not successful. He only had 2 eliminations in 6 Rumbles, but still, that's a feat in itself. 6 Rumbles.
The man that claims, and Bruce Pritchard has confirmed that he was also in the mix when they were thinking about who's going to be the champion alongside Bret.
He could have been an interim champion. I could see that. He
was a jobber for too long. It's ridiculous the fact that they even considered that.
Just a very quick point on the match between Bret and Razor Ramon. We think about Bret as had quite a storied career with the WWF before and after. He had multiple pay-per-view matches, but this was actually only the second of 3 occasions where he won a match using the sharpshooter, which is surprising considering it's his finisher in a pay-per-view, which I just thought was an odd.
That is a very good point, actually. Yeah, I guess the others, we think babyface is right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, he Roddy Piper, he defeats him with a great reversal, but that's for the Intercontinental Championship. In terms of the World Championship,
unique finishes in his matches.
But I think you're wrong again, Wax. I'll keep correcting you today. I don't want to, but I'm gonna have to keep correcting you. He beat Shawn with the sharpshooter at Survivor Series.
1.
And then he beat Razor here.
2.
He beat Papa Shango with a sharpshooter on Saturday night's main event.
That was not a pay-per-view event.
Well, that's only
I'm talking about pay-per-view events.
Oh, you mean as
entire run, basically, in his entire run.
Entire run?
Yeah, apparently that's what I came across. Well, I'm sure we can add them up as we go through. Just the last thing to bring on the undercard flash while you think about that is the debut of the narcissist Lex Luger.
But at this point, he's the narcissist.
Well, here's the thing, Flash. Last episode you said it was the narcissist, then you called him the narcissist.
No. So
and that actually goes to the whole problem with this gimmick is they didn't even know what the hell to call him.
Well, we know who this guy is, the more Rick Martel.
Rick Martel, also somebody who's in his last pay-per-view, I think, for the WWE.
He could be a narcissist or a narcissist as well.
He could, absolutely. Well, I think he definitely is.
But yeah, but like I say, I think Bobby Heenan initially calls him the narcissist on TV. By this pay-per-view, he is the narcissist.
Yeah. I think his pronunciation was all over the place.
Exactly.
Which didn't help. But it is Lex Luger.
It's a big debut.
It's a big debut. They do it in a certain manner. In the aisle, they've got all these mirrors set up. They've got Lex Luger.
IRS is gone. Earthquake has eliminated IRS.
They've got Lex Luger in a shiny silver and purple cape. We see it fall off his back, and you see those muscles glistening. Guy with a tremendous look. I don't know if you agree, Fash, but was it the right way to debut somebody like this?
I think it was, yeah. I mean, I thought the debut was fine. I mean, at the time, I had once again, similar to the Steiners and people like Sting, I had seen Lex Luger on
Yep.
the cover of WCW figures. Had heard of Lex Luger, but I'd never seen him in action. But I think as a heel, somebody who thinks he's, the greatest thing ever, Bobby Heenan is the mouthpiece. It's a little bit odd with all the
Yep.
mirrors and things, but as a heel, I think it was an interesting character, and obviously he's going to get a bit of a push. And they're positioning him as being beyond perfection, right? So that was an interesting debut. Of course, we saw him a year prior to this, Wax. Go back to WrestleMania 8 episode. He was part of the WBF in the beginning because of his
There was a
contractual
short
situation.
interview with him on the show as well.
Leaving WCW, but now he's allowed to compete as a wrestler.
And actually, I think he'd had an accident in between as well, hadn't he?
Motorbike accident, and that's where the metal plate in the elbow comes in, which will be used as
we'll talk about Lex
story.
a lot in the coming weeks. Just again, looking in the ring, Fash, can you pick a potential winner from the guys in the ring? We've got Tito, we've got Bob Backlund,
I think right
Rick
now
Martel.
I can only pick potential losers, including both of us watching this Royal Rumble. We've certainly lost out.
I think you're very harsh, Fash.
I hope the Royal Rumble later on is better
than
this. Oh, wait a minute. Where's the beef? There it is.
It's entrant number 27, Fash. It's Yokozuna.
Is it 27 already?
Yeah, it's 27 already. This has flown by. You thought it was a bad Rumble, but we've talked through this Rumble, and actually, I'm enjoying it.
27, that is quicker than I anticipated. But yeah, no, this guy's been getting a push right since his debut. Once again, we've covered him in our debuts and departures episode in the archives. He defeated Virgil at Survivor Series, and now he's in the Royal Rumble. But at this point, Wax, he came in. I didn't know much about him once again. No. I'd seen him at Survivor Series, and I would not have thought that he would be a potential winner of this field either.
No.
But he's there. He's the biggest guy there. And who's going to eliminate him? There's another big guy there, Earthquake. So I think at this point, both of us watching this would probably think that would be a confrontation that takes place in this match.
Yeah, I really like Yokozuna's work. Actually,
I think I appreciate it even more now. Obviously, as you go, there's Tatanka going. So now Tatanka's being a super push, right? And the way he eliminated Tatanka there should give an indication of how much support Yokozuna's got. He's going after the youngster Carlos Colon now. And and he's this guy. No. Oh, there he goes. And
beautiful.
Fair play to Carlos to kind of put over Yokozuna there. And now we've got the big face off. Earthquake, Yokozuna. Earthquake's pointing at him saying, "Where's the sushi?" Yokozuna saying, "It's in my stomach and it's coming out of my ass soon."
It's a great setup, actually. They've got Earthquake standing on one side.
But the great thing here is
doing his Earthquake move.
No, but we generally didn't know that Earthquake was a legit sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
And of course, Yokozuna, Rodney, I know is not. And but this is it. So face to face, another nudge, wink, wink to those that know, and the crowd is interested to see this. Earthquake off the ropes, shoulder charge. Yokozuna does not move. Yokozuna,
the immovable object and the unstoppable force. This is basically a definition of that.
Yep, and he's going once again. A collision. Yokozuna only goes back a few steps, and Owen Hart's just crept into the Royal Rumble as well. Wax at number 28, then according to your count.
Yeah, making
Earthquake. And you know what I loved about this? We're going to learn that this is going to be something that's going to continue on now. Nobody has took Yokozuna off his feet yet in the WWF, and you're thinking Earthquake might do it here. He's going for a kind of avalanche in the corner, and there you go. He gets Yokozuna.
These are huge guys, man. It's just incredible to think that these guys were allowed to wrestle.
But he goes for a second avalanche and
misses this time.
And watch this, belly to belly, and Earthquake is about to and he's eliminated by Yokozuna.
It's untidy, but it's impressive.
It's untidy,
feat nonetheless.
But it's impressive. And now at this point, he's got rid of Tatanka easily. He's just eliminated Earthquake easily. Now you might start thinking, who else is coming in this match? Yokozuna looks like he could be a potential winner.
You know what? I'm calling
Backlund,
it. It's Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund's winning this.
If I was watching this right, I would get worried that Bob Backlund potentially might win it.
Well, interestingly, most of the Rumble he's had zero reaction, but he's just starting to get a few cheers in the last couple of times.
He's been there for a long time, but
so the fans are recognizing the effort.
Tito Santana, Owen Hart, don't think so. That he was played off as Brett's brother. He was part of the storyline with Razor Ramon, but potential winner here.
It would have been a very early push for Owen Hart if they'd let him win.
If they'd done this,
a match between the Hearts.
Yeah, but again, maybe going back to the undercard Wax, I guess overall we'd probably say it was a solid to okay to solid undercard.
Yeah.
Sean is still the Intercontinental Champion, Brett's still the World Champion. Now, one thing we should know about this Rumble.
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, sorry, Fash, just to say, I think it's good. I think it was a good undercard. I think the matches were pretty good. One stinker, but the others were good to.
Yeah, I think that's fair, right? But what I was going to say was, and I shouldn't be saying sorry to you. I'm the Million Dollar fan. Is that this is the first Royal Rumble officially the winner is going to WrestleMania and challenging a champion. So right now, one half of the equation is Bret Hart as it stands, and Repo Man is the next entrant. I don't
It's the
see
second
Repo Man
to last
winning this Royal Rumble either. Just the state of some of the entrants here.
Come on,
Repo
Fash.
Man,
Everyone loves the Repo
been,
Man. Everyone loves
Man
the Repo
was
Man.
in the Royal Rumble the year before, and prior to that, he'd enter the Royal Rumble as Demolition Smash Wax. But yeah, so this is the first time. The winner is going to officially challenge the champion. The WrestleMania is going to be held at Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada. Before this event started, we had actors portraying Julius Caesar and Cleopatra kind of starting the event, I guess the Royal Rumble match, and we'll see them again at the end. Now, at this point, we've only got one more competitor coming into this match. We need somebody to save this field. I hope, Wax, it's somebody big, it's somebody special. It'd be great if it was a Hall of Famer. It'd be great if it's somebody with charisma.
I just can't see who's left. I just can't
champion.
Remember.
Former champion would be good. Because I'm looking around,
it's got to be an active wrestler, surely. Fash, it's got to be somebody who's.
Yes, well, I mean, at this point, you can see there's been no surprises in this Royal Rumble, as in, and at this point, it wasn't about surprises. We're kind of in the era. A lot of people have left. As
I really love this spot, actually.
I love in this spot, right? Everyone does it. It's like the original Andre the Giant spot where everybody's trying to eliminate. You might have thought here, Yokozuna, right? Everybody's trying to eliminate him. This elimination is going to take place.
But he has his Bollywood moment here, Fash.
He's going to have his Bollywood moment.
Which is referenced to him just kicking everybody's ass.
This is RRR moment, Wax. The movie that's making a lot of, getting a lot of eyeballs right now. And there, he's up easily. At this point, once again, we're getting worried. Is Yokozuna going to win the Royal Rumble, given there's only one man left? This feels like a longer pause than the previous ones in terms of these, these countdowns. And
they talk about that, don't they? Rumble time is never really.
It's a little bit different, isn't it, than standard? But here we go, 9-8. Who's it going to be? I think it's going to be a big name, Wax. It has to be a big name. Come on, surely. Oh, yeah. It's the Macho Man.
It's the Macho Man.
Finally, some star power. Finally, some star power. And at this point, Wax, I'm not going to lie. As a kid, that was my Royal Rumble pick.
Yeah.
And I think 99% of people would have said Macho Man's winning this Rumble. He was going to go to that main event that I'm talking about. My cameras went a bit odd here, even though it's a watch along. Don't worry about it.
The only thing, Fash, is this. I was kind of treating him like a retired wrestler. And that's why I was surprised to see him.
You Wax? Because I don't think.
As soon as a guy goes on the commentary team, right, you just think of him as not an active wrestler.
Wasn't it? It was a new show. I think at this point he's still main evented Survivor Series, but you're right. He's going to. At this point, I still thought that he's in the mix here because the way he's going to be treated is not great. I don't buy Bruce Pritchard saying that he wanted to be a commentator, and Tito Santana's gone anyway, and basically Yokozuna's thrown him out of the.
And actually, this is really funny. Right? If you're watching Yoko's face, he's absolutely gassed. And he just wanders around the ring. He's right doing nothing. He's just catching his breath.
Yeah, he just can't be bothered, man. He's tired.
But leave me alone, please.
Talk about Tito Santana. Well, Sags is gone as
kick.
well. Lovely rope kick from Owen Hart. But Rick Martel is now. Owen Hart's going to do a spot that he's going to do a number of times over the coming years.
He's struggling.
But he really screwed up.
Struggling.
Shawn Michaels was also great.
Throws himself back up into the ring.
But look at this field, man. I mean, look, really, it's only.
Just
seems to be getting a push.
Quick mention for the Repo Man and Macho Man. Just the Monday Night Raw prior to this, the Repo Man attacks Macho Man at the beginning of the show and steals his hat to start.
What an elimination! Sorry, Wax. Yokozuna just demolished Owen Hart there, and Repo Man's out. You're talking about that feud. Macho Man's taking a quick revenge. They're going to have a match, I think, as well on Raw, but he's eliminated the Repo Man. So we're left with our final four.
Yeah,
and it's a very odd final four, Wax.
I think Rick Martel's been in the final four at least once before.
Yeah, but you don't see him as a winner, right? So you got Yoko, Macho, Backlund now, who
I think genuinely you would think at this point Bob Backlund could win this match, and I think he's now just about beaten the record of Ric Flair.
Is good. And this might have been, if we would have been smart fans back then, in the same age we are now, we would have thought with what's about to happen to Ric Flair, they're trying to erase the last bit. Legs. He had the longest run, I think. When he wins the title a year before, he's been in the Royal Rumble for the longest time, but they're going to get Bob Backlund to beat that record. I think he's going to be in there. Well, we're
I think just
preempting
now, just literally after he eliminates or tries to eliminate Rick Martel, he will beat that record. I think it's about an hour and 1 minute.
It's an hour and 1
like
minute. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So yeah, we've kind of given you a spoiler. Bob Backlund is not going to win this Royal Rumble. But they definitely gave him a big.
I think nobody believed, other than me for a brief second, that he was.
No, I think at this point, but once again, you look at the names.
The fact that he's in from the start,
Man,
yeah.
The other three you don't see as winners. Go
No.
back to '93, January '93. That's just not something that you would imagine. But he'd been in there, since he's the number 2.
Yeah.
And he's going to break the record, as we say. So at this point, you just didn't have a clue what to do. And there you go.
Lovely,
a pretty good. That's probably his best elimination of this. And
that's the thing that he's been in.
But this is what's going to look at the face. He's being like the psycho Bob Backlund here. He's trying to be a baby face. He just looks creepy, and that's all I'm going to say. So
and what I was going to say about Bob Backlund is, like, unlike Ric Flair in the previous year, although he's been in the Rumble throughout the whole match, he's not had any memorable moments, really. And that's part of the reason this Rumble does not stand up to the test of time, in that Ric Flair was the star of '92 because he was involved in everything. Whereas Bob Backlund seems just to be on the peripheral of everything. And like
you said, he had that big rest spot when the Undertaker Giant Gonzalez angle took place. And Yokozuna's already Bob Backlund. So now you're thinking, and I remember this, the final 2, I remember it well, with Savage and Yoko, and I genuinely believed that Savage was going to WrestleMania.
But I was the opposite, honestly. I'm thinking back, and my feeling was always, there's no way that he beats Yokozuna here. There's no way that he eliminates him. And I don't know why necessarily, if it was just to do with him being on the commentary team and being a retired wrestler. I just don't know. I thought maybe they pushed Yokozuna.
I just felt Yokozuna because he was so new to it. I was like, surely not. Now, the other thing you could think is babyface against and Brett's your champion, so Yokozuna's opponent, but he just feels so early. So I generally thought at this point, like many fans, I think that Macho was going to win.
It's the right way to push a monster heel, no, Fash? It's to make them win a Rumble and send them to WrestleMania. It was
very different to what we've seen up to this point. That's the key thing, Max. In terms of Royal Rumble winners. Yes, have we had won the year before?
Have we had? Yeah, well, I suppose
Ric Flair. You were going to say that, yeah? Ric Flair won the year before, but that was already a long-running storyline of him being the real world champion.
Yep.
You're doing talk about Yokozuna is just a newcomer here, but you can see straight away that they're trying new things with all the people that have left. But it's going to turn into a bit of a match. These two are going to go at it for a little bit.
They do actually much longer than I remembered. Several minutes worth of action.
Well, that's it, and that also points to the fact that there was just so much star power lacking in this. Even now, going back to my point, I would have brought Perfect and Flair later on into the match. You could have still done that. The final 4 could have been those 4. It would be much better, right? And Perfect still eliminates.
But then maybe
you could do that to eliminate Perfect.
So but then who do you have in the first half or first 2/3 of the Rumble?
All the crap you saw there.
Yeah, but it's not very. At least they had something happening in the first
worst
third.
Rumbles have been, right? But you had the Undertaker.
You're gonna have something happening throughout each part of the Rumble. Yeah.
Give Tatanka an earlier slot. Do some other stuff. Keep the other guys. The Perfect Flair stuff didn't even last that long.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, you could have had one of them but because Flair was obviously on his way out, you could have had him and then Perfect come later on. I just feel that 4 would be better because, like I say, this Royal Rumble is not great, and it follows one that is seen as the greatest, which doesn't help it.
Well, look, last year's Rumble had Ric Flair.
Well, can I just talk about that? Actually, that was what sometimes we get to. These two are going to talk about. Look at the guys that were in last year's Rumble that are not in the WWF anymore, right? Wait a minute, I'll go. That says Macho Man's on top rope. Axe handle, Yokozuna is not going to move. And the crowd, and I used to love this about Yokozuna, he would act the whole kind of selling of I'm about to fall, but he wouldn't fall. Macho Man's going over top rope again. And, we'll get to who's not here anymore after this, I think. And he's
down to one knee
now, Max. But he's still not taking off his feet properly. And what a thrust kick by Yoko to the Macho Man.
A reverse thrust kick, beautifully done by a big man.
But I'll quickly name some of these people. Look, Wax, looking at last year's lineup. British Bulldog, no longer the Haku's no longer there. Shawn Michaels had an undercard match. He's not in the Rumble. Barbadian's gone. Texas Tornado is gone and will pass away as well around about this time, which is a big tragedy. Greg Valentine, not a big star, but obviously a staple, is not here. Nikolai Volkov, less said about him. Big Boss Man was in the match last year. Hercules is gone. Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who was initially meant to be in this match, but for some reason isn't. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Macho Man was in the match last year, so they used star power. But Iron Sheik, General Mustafa, at least he was a name, right? He was in the match. But then look, Hulk Hogan, Sid Justice, the two big ones, right? And then you had Sergeant Slaughter, he's an official. You had the Warlord. You then pepper in the ultimate winner of it, Ric Flair, DiBiase was in there, Tito Santana. It was just so many
Fash,
people left
let me
the
just pick you up on
company.
that. Right? You've mentioned a lot of names, and I appreciate they're all names, right? They're all very well recognized names, but I think a lot of them harken back to an old era, the 80s. Greg Valentine, Bossman had his best years, I think, in the
Okay,
towards the late end.
well, you're saying that okay, stars, right? I'll just take it stars. I'm just saying all the people
Let's
that left.
pick out the superstars.
Well, there you go. Hogan,
yeah,
he was big. Sid Justice,
yeah,
he was big. The British Bulldog, we'd say is big.
Superstar,
Rowdy Piper, you were saying
superstar
Roddy Piper.
even at this
Roddy
stage.
Piper?
I don't know. At this stage, I don't know. Was he a superstar?
Piper was a top star
at this stage. No,
he would have been.
I differentiate between a star and a superstar.
How is he not a superstar? He decided to leave.
I just don't think he was at this time.
You're trying to say Roddy Piper was not a name in terms of if you talk about the names of
I'm
that.
saying there's lots of names. There's lots of names, but was he
Piper
Hulk Hogan level? Was he?
Oh, who was Hulk Hogan? Oh, come on, Rax.
Level.
And the biggest stars of that time, he was feuding with Flair. He was.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is some of these names you mentioned, and I get that they're all names and all very famous in their own right, but they all harken back to an era past.
Not just in 12 months, they've suddenly harkened back to an era.
Most of them, as you know, have left.
This era was thrown upon Vince because of the steroid scandal and just people doing other things. Now, this is the worst elimination ever. Wax, as you're going to see it.
It's the silliest moment in Rumble history.
So this is the silliest moment. How many? And there you go, right? Macho Man, for some stupid reason, does the elbow drop and goes for a pin.
It's the one thing that just always remains.
And it's a great bump, as in he falls, basically press slams him all the way. Well, he kicks out and Savage falls over. But how many Rumbles had Savage been in? 89?
Exactly.
90. He was in 1992. 91 he was supposed to be in, but he didn't turn up because he was scared of the Warrior. So it's not as if he's new to
this. Really ruined my opinion of Savage at that time. Yeah.
It was just the dumbest elimination. I don't know why he agreed to it, that he's going for a pin.
Yeah.
But the shockers happening. I remember being my mouth wide open. Yokozuna has won the Royal Rumble. You've got Jabroni, Julius Caesar, and Cleopatra, who looks fine, coming out to serenade the winner, who is Yokozuna, and the crowd is in shock. But yeah, I'm going to go back to this argument I'm having with you. Piper was a big name.
Hold off, let's just finish off this last little bit of the show. Then
I'm annoyed at you, and I hope every rip shoe that you would go against Glasgow's own.
I know the opinion everybody has is the 92 was the most amazing Rumble, and I agree. I do agree. I don't think the star power, if you look at it on paper, is necessarily as big or as big a differentiation between 92 and 93 as you say. But we'll come back to it. What I found really odd, they didn't even let Yokozuna have his moment in the ring. As soon as he wins the Rumble, he's basically walking to the back. I think they wanted to do something in the back, or they were running for the toilet or something.
I think he wanted a drink. He wanted something to eat.
But it's just odd. Normally you see a Rumble.
I think my feeling was that he was going to do something because Cleopatra and Julius Caesar came out, and suddenly they go to the highlights. So I don't know if the WWE network is cut a bit here. I remember it being a little bit longer after he won, but maybe not. But I used to love this about the old pay-per-views back where they'd have the kind of the music playing, the Royal Rumble music, and then they show highlight pictures. But let's close off one first debate. Right? I think you're nonsensical in saying the name value that was in last year's Rumble, it was huge. This is why this one's struggling. Now, I'm going to say these names again, the big names then, right? Ric Flair. Yep. Okay. Shawn Michaels, future Hall of Famer.
Nah, you can't.
Okay,
Look,
fine. Okay,
we're talking about legends at that time, right?
Okay, at the time then. Okay, then be quiet at the time then.
I'm going to agree with you on this.
No. Ric Flair. Okay, Ric Flair. Roddy Piper, who you're saying is not a big star, but was a big star at the time. Jake the St. Roberts was a big star. He was in the biggest feuds at the time. So you can't change that. You've got Sid, who was a bona fide main eventer at the time. You had Hulk Hogan. Just those names in their own. Sergeant Slaughter had just been champion for a little while. These were all huge names. And then you had, older famous names like who weren't over anymore, but people like Superfly Mystical. But look, let's go to and they've done a confrontation. This is why Yoko left Wax. He's actually face to face with Bret Hart. And I like this that they're setting up WrestleMania's main event just at the end of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. But so you're missing the point here. Talking about name value was, you had recognized names and you had some superstars. And for you to say Piper at the time wasn't a superstar is ridiculous.
Well, I'm going to stick by it. But I genuinely agree, yes, that the 92 Rumble had more superstars than the 92 one. However, in terms
No,
of
no,
name
92
value,
had more.
92
than
had more than 93. I agree, particularly because the three remaining at the end, the four remaining actually at the end of the match.
But
Randy
Macho Man was in
Savage.
that match as well.
That's what
So
I'm saying.
exactly.
Listen to
So
me,
I'm not.
Flash. Flash, pipe down for a second.
No,
The
I'm
last
not
four, absolutely agree with you. They were superstars, and the superstar value of 92 was much greater than the superstar value of 93.
What's your point then?
Not taking away from that at all. I'm just saying the way that you present 93 as such a big fall from 92, I don't actually necessarily agree with. There were 17 Hall of Famers in 92 Rumble. There were 14 in
no,
93. So it doesn't represent a massive. Listen. The other thing is
you're missing. You're contradicting your
92
point.
was, as I said, a bygone era, and 93 we talked about was the
Because these
changes.
guys left.
You just mentioned all the people that left.
Okay, can I make a point now? Okay,
Yeah, go
finish your
first.
point, and then I'm going to basically.
No, I was just going to say, I think 93 was more representative of what we've seen in this period than 92 was. 92 was very much full of 80s superstars, a couple of big main eventers. And look, I'm not saying 92 wasn't the best Rumble of all time. I'm just saying the argument here of 93 being terrible.
I'm waiting for you to finish so I can.
Okay, on you go, Flash.
Okay. Right, so to your point, you're jumping around here. You're talking about 93 had X amount of Hall of Famers. You're jumping to the future again, when to me you're saying don't jump and talk about Shawn Michaels being in it. So I'm saying to you, give me your main event level.
I've just admitted, Fash. I've just admitted on a main event level.
Yep.
92 absolutely trumps 93.
But no,
I'm saying generally
had enough. So I'm saying, tell me in 93 in that match.
There were only two I would say that were main event level, and that was Randy Savage and Ric Flair. In 93.
I would disagree. I would say you could even say Perfect and Undertaker. Okay, so we say 4.
Oh, well, I missed the Undertaker, but that's I would say 3. I'm not going to put Mr. Perfect up there.
So my point was of 92. I initially mentioned the ones that are no longer there.
Yep.
I didn't supplement that with the Undertaker being in the 92 Rumble as well. I didn't supplement it with Randy Savage also being in that. So my point is this: at that time, and what you're saying in just a period of 12 months, that suddenly the era has changed. But you're gonna have Hulk Hogan coming back in a few weeks, Max. So in Vince's mind, the era had not changed. It was put on him because of the steroid scandal. And certain people say Piper decided to leave because he wanted to try movies. Do you agree with that?
Yep.
So he went there. Hogan, steroid scandal. Sid, we've discussed his issues in the archives. Piper wanted to try. Jake Roberts had a falling out.
Yep.
These were all big names though, and the reaction to what I'm saying
of course,
is 93,
I'm not disagreeing with you, Fash.
Has a depleted roster, and that's why Tenryu and Carlos Colon were brought in.
You're right.
So my point
you can't say somebody like Colonel Mustafa is not the same level as a Tenryu. Virgil was there in both years. Skinner was there in both years. The Warlord was there. Rico Man was there. I'm saying there's a bunch of trash in 92 as well that nobody remembers.
No, they do remember. My point was, I think maybe I didn't articulate it well enough, Wax, because you've got to be in your bonnet too. But let me explain to you. What I was doing was making 2 parallel points, okay? I know it's difficult for you to handle, even though you're the brain, it's difficult for you to understand. One was, the first primary point was the number of people that have left the company just in the space of 12 months, right? Okay?
Yep.
And that's where I mentioned jabronis like Warlord, Barbarian, Haku, Hercules, the Iron Sheik, though. If Iron Sheik heard what you said about him, I think he'd be on your ass on Twitter, and I hope he does. Sheik baby, go after Wax the Brain. And my second point was the star power. Like you're saying at the time, right? People like Texas Tornado were still names in the business. Yep. So it's not as if you could say they were coming down, but they were still names. And then you had this main event talent that Vince would have still loved to have had in this Rumble, right? Like we said, they lost Warrior and Bulldog. He would have loved to have had them if they could have. But he had a decision to make. So it's another transitional period. All I'm saying is this event lacked the star power that we both seem to agree on. So I don't know what the point is. And this argument was triggered by you saying Piper wasn't a big star, but going in, he was the Intercontinental Champion. You put over Brett, and I think he still would have had some sort of spot if he was still around. He chose to leave. And of course, you're talking about this era. Piper's going to come back in 94, be it for a cup of coffee, but he's going to come back, and he's going to be back in 96 as well. So my point is they just lack stars here, and it's very evident. Would you agree with that?
I think they lacked superstars, absolutely. I think they still had name value in the Rumble.
I apologize, audience, for Wax just
will not
taking 20 minutes of your life with his...
I will not bow down. And I don't know why you're arguing.
I don't know about Martin Jannetty. I don't know about Martin Jannetty, but Wax certainly seems to be on something.
Just very quickly, Flash, because it's been a long episode, I'm sure.
It's been a good episode, though.
Oh, absolutely. I think I really, really enjoyed it. We're getting the hang of this watch-along thing, Flash. Maybe we'll have to
enjoying the watch-alongs, actually.
More often. A couple of just things. This was, I think, Gorilla and Bobby's last Rumble together,
Very good point.
and I
That
think
is a good
potentially the
point you've made.
last pay-per-view together.
It is the
Um,
last pay-per-view.
And I
for-
thought, just thinking about that, just made me really sad. Like to think
Made
that
me
these
sad
two
as well.
wouldn't be together on a show.
They were still my favorite pairing
Yeah,
back then.
yeah,
No, actually, we need. No, you're right. It is. No, it is the final pay-per-view
yeah,
because WrestleMania 9 is Jim Ross's debut,
yeah,
and then Vince McMahon. So this is the last pay-per-view together, which is a shame. But for me, when I got introduced to wrestling, it was Bobby and Gorilla, and old stuff that you watched. It was Jesse and Gorilla. So it's a shame that it comes to an end.
yeah.
But
And we
this is
talk
some great
about.
one-liners.
Oh, I
from
think
Heenan
Bobby was
and
again
it's great.
tremendous, and we probably didn't pick up as many of them this time that we did last time. The other thing, just to note, we talked about 92 being a transition year. The number of people that leave in 93 by the end of the year is also incredible. Like, I think 18 or 17, 18 of the 30 that were in the Rumble don't make it till the end of the year of 93,
Well,
which
that's
again
it, and that's building on
is
my point as well.
yeah.
So you're talking about these guys representing this era, Wax. Well, a lot of them are not going to be going as well. So yeah, it's just going to be continuing churn, and noting it down as you say, bulk of the people in this Rumble are not going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy time in the WWF, but we are going to see the emergence of more names now. I kind of said it in my, in our argument there, but a big name is going to return very, very soon. And I'm sure Vince had high hopes, as did the fans, when it's announced, but we'll cover that in the coming weeks. And Ric Flair, as we say, for TV viewers, his last night in the WWF is going to be a day after this event. He takes on Mr. Perfect. So there's stuff
So
to
lots
cover.
to talk about, hopefully, in the next few weeks. But just give us your overall thoughts about the Rumble. I think you've kind of made it clear this was not one of your favorite Rumbles.
Like, at a time, I enjoyed it as a kid. Obviously, there was moments in there, but what I remember still was the fact that the Undertaker basically destroying people, confrontation with Giant Gonzalez, and then the bit at the end with Yokozuna and Macho Man and the pin attempt. My issue with this Rumble, yes, star power, okay, they couldn't do much about. People like Crush, she curved in the angle with Doink later on. At least it would have been another star in there, right? They couldn't do anything about the people leaving. The structure was my issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
If there came a point, and I think this is it, when you have limited stars, they could have used them a bit better. And actually, like tonight's event that we're hoping is a great Royal Rumble match, even though nowadays they don't hype the Royal Rumble match like they used to, which is a gripe of mine, is that you want it to get better as it goes along.
Yeah.
And I think, even though we've had a bit of an altercation here, Max, we both agree that this didn't go up like that.
No.
It was one of those ones where it was kind of a little bit, yeah. And then at the end, it's just kind of we get there, and that was it. It could have been structured better, and I think we would have had a better, and people would have talked about this more. But to be fair, people don't really talk about 93, 94. The ending they talk about 94. Looking forward to when you get to that one, and it's the way it is. 92 was a special one for a number of reasons. You could argue we've discussed it. Maybe it's a little bit overhyped and it became just this growing legend. But yeah, I think the structure of this match didn't help it, given it didn't have the star power.
Yeah, I think there were definitely a couple of things lacking from this, making it a great Rumble. Lack of stories. There were probably only two, Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect, and then the Undertaker thing. Really heated feuds, similar. There wasn't really any connection to any wrestlers within the match. The lack of potential winners. Well, I say there is name value in the Rumble. There's not superstar value in many of those names. So there are very few people. And we talked about it during the Rumble. That's why I kept asking you, do you think there's a potential winner in the ring?
And that's it.
And the answer was
no.
You
couldn't see it. As a kid, I couldn't see it, and I couldn't see it now if I was watching this.
I was very happy, actually, with Yokozuna winning. Looking back, and even at the time, I thought it just set up WrestleMania really well.
Well, this is it. When you don't have stars, they did take a bold move by creating a new star, and they did that, and they'd done it to a large degree with Razor, previously with the Undertaker. So you're intrigued by this match, the small man, the worker Bret Hart against Yokozuna. There'll be more twists and turns, but that's the super push, right? I mean, there was a rumor back that Bruce Pritchard said that they considered Scott Steiner, or he pitched Scott Steiner to win this. I don't buy that. Given
too early, no chance.
Too early. Steiners were trying to be a tag team still. I don't buy this. Maybe down the line Steiner could have got pushed, but I don't buy that story. I think he's embellishing there. But yeah, overall I would give it a below average Rumble. But this concept of watching it long after years, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
I agree with you in hindsight. Yokozuna was the right winner, though I think Bret against, I'm going to keep saying Bret and Macho Man at some point would have been special, right? And I guess to your point, the main eventers, if you watched Survivor Series and come to this code, you would have thought there'd be a bigger role for both Perfect and Macho and Flair to a degree as well. But yeah, we're moving on. Certainly in Vince McMahon's world in 1993.
Yeah, we've covered a lot in the Royal Rumble today. There's a lot of stories that are coming out from this that we'll hopefully cover before we move on to WrestleMania. And I think we'll leave it there for now, Fash. I think as I said,
we'll leave it there, Wax. But I'm going to end it with, you'd said this at the beginning of the show. We have gone long, but obviously we covered the event and hopefully giving you lots of other insight as we always do. But we are just a very short time away from the 2023 Royal Rumble, Wax. 30 years on. Who's your pick for tonight?
Well, I know there's two people that people are really rooting for, right? But I'm going to go outside that and make everybody unhappy and pick Seth Rollins for the win.
You're definitely going out of the box there. I tell you, like I said before, my issue with the Royal Rumbles nowadays is they don't hype the match as much. This time, really, the focus has been on Cody. Brock Lesnar now said he'll be in there. But, previously, I used to love it when everyone used to start fighting. The event before
prior to
the show prior to, and it's like there could be multiple winners and they hyped it up with packages coming. They just don't bother with it anymore, which is annoying. Last year's Rumble was very disappointing.
Yeah, a very bad Rumble.
Yeah, very bad one. So I think hopefully tonight is a good one. Cody has been signposted. I'm gonna go. I hope Sami Zayn. It'd be cool if he wins it, and it would, continue the storyline. We're expecting The Rock's not going to be around anymore. There's rumors of Stone Cold potentially returning at WrestleMania. I think people really get hyped up for these super surprises.
But that
think
sets an expectation level that just sometimes can't be met.
Every year you get people saying, The Rock's not going to turn up in the Royal Rumble match, right? And if he does, and we're both contradicted, it'll be
we'll be happy to. Yeah,
and if Stone Cold Steve Austin was to come in for a quick Royal Rumble cameo, everybody will go crazy. But that's highly unlikely, as Gorilla Monsoon used to say. So yeah, I'll stay a little bit safer. I think Cody's the one that everyone is signposting. Please not Brock again, and it won't be. I think him and Lashley will continue their feud. So I'll go for Sami Zayn to continue the Bloodline storyline. You're going for Seth Rollins. Interesting pick, but I don't see it happening. But yep, we'll move 30 years forward from the 93 Royal Rumble. Looking forward to the show. By the time you guys, participate in this watch along, we'll know who the Royal Rumble winner is. With that, Wax, enjoy the show later on. We're not watching it together on this occasion. It won't be in the Wrestling with Memory studio. You basically have decided to turn.
Don't worry, Fash. I'll be there for WrestleMania Night 1, the big one.
Yeah, that's it. Look forward to that. But until then, I hope you enjoyed Wax losing his argument to me. He is Wax, I'm Fash, and this has been Wrestling with Royal Rumble Memories. Enjoy the show later on tonight.